You want to take care of it again. You came into my house drunk, and I was not in front of you. You just humiliated me in front of others and looked at me. I was annoyed. You walked to the front and drove his father away. Come back. Why is he not behind me yet? And why is he coming to my room? We have been talking to each other all night long. But only my heart and 5 internal organs have not turned away from me. After hearing this, Yunyang. What? Don't be annoyed, because he said to Da Quizi and Meng Yulu, you were all watching yesterday. And I didn't say anything to him. When the young man came in with a lantern, I just asked, why didn't your father come in? The young man fell down, he said. He went to Liu Niang's house. I then said, you two Niangs are waiting here, but they don't come in because there is no way out. It doesn't hurt him to talk about it. Why do you say that I am a godly mother-in-law? Kiao sitting in the Yamen. I still regard him as a good person. It turns out that he knows people. Well, but not their hearts. How can he look at people? He is just a thorn in his skin and a thorn in his flesh. He doesn't know what he is saying in front of a man behind his back. It's his fault. Yesterday, I decided to move forward. Silly sister, even if the man stays in your house all day long, I don't want my heart to be moved. A man is left to you, let you go. And you can't be a widow. The head of the family is a vat of evil water. He keeps the good things in his heart and the bad things in his heart. You, mother said, no matter how long it takes, I will answer these two sentences. When I ask him, how can I be so devoted to my mother-in-law and become a government official? Jin Lian was so flustered that she said, sister, please forgive him. As the saying goes, adults do not blame children. Is that villain not guilty? He is instigating the man behind his back. Who among us has never said anything about him? He and I are separated by a wall. If we want to meet him like him, it will be impossible. He said something right and wrong about you to my mother, like this, saying that you said that my mother is a godly mother-in-law. Kiao did Yamen. Now my mother wants to talk to you. Don't say that I told you. Blame me for leaving it to him. Last night, I was behind and heard the little boy. He said that his father was coming towards me. So I came to the front and urged him to go to the back. Who said a word? Your mother is looking down on me. Could it be that I am so ignorant that I dared to say this? Let me just say, who are you talking to? There is also a whereabouts. The eldest sister said. He heard my mother say that she would do it at any time, and he panicked. If it were me, you two would gong and drum in front of each other. Are you right? Li Ping'er said. Have I ever been right against that talkative guy of his? It just depends on God. Li Ping'er dropped her needle and went to the back with her eldest sister. She didn't even eat. When she came back to her room, she fell on the bed and fell asleep. I came to my house from Ximen King Yamen, saw him sleeping, and asked about the coming spring. Ying Shun said, my mother hasn't eaten yet. The panicked Ximen King stepped forward and asked, why don't you eat? Tell me. Seeing him crying with red eyes, he only asked, what's on your mind? Tell me. Li Ping'er stood up quickly, rubbed her eyes, and said, my eyes hurt. It's not that bad. I feel too lazy to eat today. She didn't say a single word. They came behind me and used me to put the base of their tongues. I still have a shadow here, Da Jinzi said. Big girl, don't lose anyone in the future. I'm not saying behind my back. Fifth sister Pan is 100 times inferior to him. She is a kind-hearted person. So here we are. I'm 23 years old, so I don't have to look bad. Just as he was talking, Qin Tunger was carrying a large blue cloth bag on his back. Yunyang asked what it was, and Qin Tong said, it's 30,000 salt coins. Mr. Han and Shui Ben had just registered at Guan, and their father said they would have a meal with them. And now they will pay for it and pack it away. The day after tomorrow is a good day. I got up and sent the 3 of them to Yangzhou. Ximen King had seen it earlier and asked Yunyang, is that Ansu, fat, bald, poor? What are you doing here? Yunaying said, you are so vain and tongue-in-cheek. Why should you scold him for not being a domestic person? Did he provoke you? How do you know his surname is Su? Ximen King said, You still don't know what he has done. He hanged Miss Chen Zhengsheng in Exitagarban nunnery and had an affair with a young man. He knew about it and received 30 taels of silver. When the incident happened, I took him to the Yamen, where I took off my clothes and beat him 20 times. And asked him to marry a man and return to secular life. Why hasn't he returned to secular life? You still don't know if he is good or not, Simon King said. You asked him how many men you doxing picked up in one night. Yoon Young said. Just stop sweating. You're asking me to scold you in a bad way again. Because he asked, when will I send him 3 to get up? Simon King said. I just sent him to Baohui to support Kiao's family. He gave 500 taels, and I gave 500 taels. 20 is a good day, so send him. Just go out every time you get up. Yoon Young said. Who can open the thread shop? Simon King said. Let me leave it to Ben C to open it for him. After saying that, Yoon Young opened the box to get the silver and cashed it out. Delivered with 3 people, watching the packing in the roll shed. The Earl raised his hand and said, Brother, congratulations. You will definitely make a fortune when you come back. Simon King gave up his seat and called for tea. Because he asked, when will Li San and Huang Si be locked up? It has been carried over here, Simon King said. When you see it, I will send him to Yangzhou. I don't have any money yet, so I asked Kiao's relatives who borrowed 500 taels from it. How about asking for money? The Count said, it's good to know. Just as he was talking, Pinganer brought in the invitation card and said, Jia Shu has been sent to Daddy Xia's house and asked him to sit down with me tomorrow. Simon King read the invitation card and said, I understand. The Earl said I have something to report to my brother. Do you know what Li Geyer did? He didn't come? Simon King said, he left in the first month. When will he come? From Key's house in Urshao Alley, and left at Li Geyer's house again. He took out his wife's head and face. He was so angry that he hung himself at his wife's house. He didn't want to miss her husband's birthday the day before yesterday. Today I said that you are coming to Yangji, Simon King said. I said that I have been waiting for him to leave during the first month. Who has the money here? And who has the money there? Then Zhu Mazi is still making trouble for me. After saying that, the Earl said, I'll go. I'm afraid Li Geyer will come when I get back. You can leave him alone, and he will say that I will come to help you. Simon King said, I also told you, Li San. You don't promise him. I'll talk to you after I ask for money from outside the door. The Earl said, I know. As soon as he walked out of the door, he saw Sister Li Gui's sedan at the door. And she got off the sedan early and went in. The Count went. Simon King was just telling Chen Jingji to go to Zhu Si's house outside the door to collect the money. Qin Tunger came up and said, Madam, please come from behind. Aunt Li Gui is here. Simon King walked to the back and saw Sister Li Gui, wearing brown clothes, not wiping her face. She put a white sweat towel over her head. Her hair was disheveled and her face was pale. She kowtowed to Simon King and started crying, saying, What's wrong with Dad? Damn it. There was a man you're at home come to the house that Bar picked up here. When I get home, my mother is so scared that she has lost all her soul. She just wants to die. Today, the county officials took the ticket and drank together and got up early in the morning. Now I want to go to Tokyo. Go back and say something. Dad, you are not a pitiful old man. But what happened to me? Mom, please tell me. Simon King smiled and said, Get up. He asked who else's name was on the ticket. I'll tell you. He called Schuttinger and said, Write a message quickly and go to the county to meet your father Li. Tell him that Sister Gui has always been here with me. I'll see if I can avoid mentioning him. Shutong promised, wearing blue silk clothes. After a while, I got a reply from Li Jixian. The book boy said, Dad Li said, I will report to your dad more often. He will take orders on everything else. Look how bluffing he is. Sister quickly kowtows to Yoon Young and Simon King. Simon King then sent someone to call for the security guard to come, and said, You can't go on the 20th. Tell him to go first. said, when I get back, my mother will thank Brother Bao very much. Simon King refused. So he returned the money to Sister Gui and taught Yun Young to give Lai Bao another 5 taels of silver. Money for the journey. Sister Gui said, it doesn't make sense. Saying, Brother Lai Bao, at least get up tomorrow morning. I'm afraid it's too late, Lai Bao said. I'll be walking down the aisle tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock. So I received the letter and walked to Lion Street and Hondao Country. Wang Liwer was sewing small clothes in the house. When he opened the window and saw Lai Bao, he hurriedly said, if you have anything to say, please sit in the room. He was not at home. He went to the tailor to beg for clothes. So he came. Then he called Jenner. Why don't you go over to Tailor Zhu's house and call your father? You said Uncle Bao was here, Lai Bao said. Let me tell you. I can't go tomorrow because another karmic obstacle has risen. The head of the house stayed and told me to go to Tokyo to express favors for Sister Li Gui in the courtyard. He just kowtowed to me in front of my father again and again. He will get up early tomorrow morning. Let me tell Mr. Han and Chief Chui to go first, and I will rush back when I get back. Come here, he asked. Sister-in-law, what are you doing? Wang Liwer said, it's his little clothes. Lai Bao said, teach him to wear less clothes. Wherever he goes, it's out of the gauze, in the satin nest. I worry about having no clothes to wear. Just as he was saying this, Han Daoguo came. The two of them sang, and after telling each other what had happened, they said, where will I look for you tomorrow in Yangzhou? Han Daoguo said, Dad, I was told to teach you how to invest on horse heads at the shop of broker Wang Boru. Exit. He said that his deceased father once knew his father. His shop had a spacious house and many merchants, so he didn't worry about putting away his belongings. Just go there and look for me, Lai Bao said again. Sister-in-law, I will go to Tokyo tomorrow. Go. You don't have anything to bring into the house with your eldest sister, Wang Liwer said. Nothing. Just 2 pairs of hairpins that his father made for him. And his 2 pairs of shoes, and Uncle Bao took them with him. Go in and meet him. Then he packed up the handkerchief and handed it to the bailiff. At the same time, he taught Cheng Xiang how to look at vegetables and sift wine. The woman quickly put down her life and put the table on the table. Lai Bao said, Sister-in-law, don't bother, I won't sit down. I have to pack my clothes when I get home and get up early tomorrow. Wang Liwer said with a smile, Yakao, why do you come to this house to blame me? The man's house. Since I'm going to bid farewell to you, I should have some bells, because he said to Han Daoguo, you are so honest. The table is unstable, so why don't you let Uncle Bao sit down? You're just like a person who has nothing to do. So he took it. When the dishes came, the wine was poured out and handed to Lai Bao. Wang Liwer also accompanied him, and the 3 of them sat down to drink. Lai Bao ate for a few minutes and said, let's go to my house. It's too late. I'm afraid the house will close early. Han Daoguo asked, have you ever hired me to cook? Lai Bao said, I'll hire him early tomorrow morning. In the shop, just give the keys and account books to Ben Si, so you can stay overnight again. Rest at home so you can walk. Han Daoguo said, what the guy said is that I will hand it over to him tomorrow. Wang Liwer added he poured out a bowl and said, Uncle Bao, if you only eat this 1 minute, I won't dare to keep you. Lai Bao said, Sister-in-law, since you want me to eat it, heat it up some more. Wang Liwer quickly returned to the pot and taught Jenner to heat up the cannon, poured it into the cup, handed it to Lai Bao with both hands, and said, it's not a very good dish to drink with Uncle Bao. Lai Bao said, my sister-in-law is easy to talk to, but my family is not polite. He took the wine and drank with the woman, drank it together, and then stood up with his speech. Wang Liwer handed him his daughter's shoes and feet and said, Uncle Lai Bao, please go to the house and ask if the child is okay. I'll feel more at ease. The couple sent him out together. Not to mention that I packed up my luggage at home and got up the next day to go to Tokyo. Uncle Wu came to Simon King and said, I have received a letter from the Dongbing Prefecture, and I have been sent to be the master of the 2 offices of Benway and Qianhu plumbers to repair the warehouse. The inscription is that the work will be completed within 6 months, and I will be promoted to the next level. If you violate the limit, you will be inspected by the censor. My brother-in-law borrowed a few taels of silver and used it on his work. When the wages are paid, he will pay them back one by one. Simon King said, Uncle, I will just take whatever I need. Uncle Wu said, Brother-in-law, please take care of me and give me 20 taels. As they walked into the back together, they saw Yun Young talking and asked Yun Young to take out 20 taels and give them to the uncle, and then had tea. Because there were guests behind me, I came out. Yun Young taught Uncle Simon Xingliu to have wine in the hall. In the middle of drinking, Chen Jingji saw Chen Jingji coming, bowed to Uncle Wu, and said back, The Zhu family is outside the door. Tell me, I have to wait for 2 more days. Simon King said, Nonsense, I'm waiting for the money messenger here, but he still scolds that dog disciple kid. Jingji promised. Uncle Wu asked him to sit down and have a drink with him. In the back, Da Junzi, Miss Yang, Li Jiar, Meng Yulu, Pan Junlian, Li Ping'er and the eldest sister were all having wine with Sister Gui in Yun Young's room. First, Sister Yu counted Zhang Sheng Yu pagoda once and put down her pipa. Meng Yulu was pouring wine and serving vegetables for him to eat. And said, The thief has been singing all day long and said that I don't love you. Pan Jinlian put a piece of meat on his nose with a big chopstick. Tease and play with him. Sister Gui called Sister Yu Xiao, Please hand over Sister Yu's pipa, and I will sing a song for my aunt and the aunt to listen to. Yun Young said, Sister Gui, you are feeling hot in your heart, so stop singing. Sister Gui said, It doesn't matter. I saw my parents went to say favors for me, and I'm not anxious this time. Meng Yulu smiled and said, Sister Li Gui is still a baby in the courtyard, and she is quick to make faces. At that time, she frowned and couldn't eat the burnt tea. This time she talked and laughed. At that moment, Sister Gui lightly stretched her jade fingers, plucked the eye string, and sang once. While singing, I saw Qin Tunger coming in to help. Yun Young then asked, Your uncle is gone, Qin Tunger said. My uncle is gone. Wu Dejinzi said, I'm afraid that my life will change every time my brother-in-law comes in. Qin Tunger said, Dad has gone to Wu Niang's room. When Pan Jinlian heard this, she couldn't sit still and staggered. She wanted to walk, but it was difficult to walk. Yun Young didn't wait for him to start, so she said, He went to your room. You go ahead. You'll owe it to your parents-in-law. Pan Jinlian shouted, Kecker, stood up and said my body was hard, and my steps were going very fast. When they came to the room, Simon King had already taken the Hu Monk medicine and asked Chun Mai to take off her clothes and sit on the bed under the tent. Jin Lian saw it and smiled and said, My son, what a good day. I went to bed before your mother came. Every time I ate wine in the back, Sister Li Gui sang and drank me a few good drinks. I was alone, in the dark shadow. 1 step higher and 1 lower. Somehow I came here, called Chun Mai. If you have tea, pour it into the pot, and I'll eat it. Chun Mai actually ordered tea. After eating the golden lotus, she opened her mouth and spoke to Chun Mai, who knew what it meant. The water had already been heated for him in the room over there. The woman poured some sandalwood and a lum into it and washed the female. He plucked his head under the lamp, holding only a gold hairpin, took the mirror, put rouge on his lips again, and walked over here with fragrant tea in his mouth. Chun Mai took her sleeping shoes from the bedside and changed them with him, then closed the door and went out. The woman moved the lampstand close to the table next to her, lowered half of the gauze curtain with one hand, took off her red trousers, and exposed her jade body. Simon King sat on a pillow, and his words came with two props, and he looked at him with a big smile. The woman saw it under the lamp and was startled. She couldn't hold it with one hand. It was purple and heavy. Then she glanced at Simon King closely and said, I guess if you have nothing else, you must have taken the monk's medicine and made your shrug. His body is so big. I want to come here, but I can't help it. Good wine and meat. The king will always have enough to eat. You tried something new in front of that person, and this time there were some remnants of the defeated army, so you came to my house. Is it true that I am a female who has leftover Maoji? Maobu in Japan, you still say you are not partial. He said that I was not in the house that day, and I didn't know how to steal the imported buns into his room. It turns out that Wan Shi and him were doing this business. and he was still making trouble for others. You are a good guy who cannot be redeemed, come to think of it. It would be better if I ignore you for 100 years. Simon King smiled and said, You little slut, come here. If you have the ability, I will give you 1 tael of silver if you have the guts to do it. The woman said, You're sick of sweat. What kind of smuggled goods did you eat? I can't restrain him. Then he leaned his body on the quilt, held the words in both hands, and swallowed them with his red lips, said, What a big traitor. It makes people's mouths hurt. After saying that, he went in and out and smacked. Some tease the frog's mouth with the tip of the tongue and lick its tortoise string. Some hold it in the mouth and suck it back and forth. Some shake it on the pink face and twist it in various ways, and the words become harder and harder. Simon King lowered his head and saw the woman's fragrant skin hidden in the gauze curtain. She held Ding Madulu's words in her delicate hands, swallowed them in her mouth, and came and went under the lamp. Unexpectedly, there was a white lion cat squatting next to him. When he saw the movement, he took it as an object and jumped forward, clawing at it. Simon King was on top, and he held the old crow fan sprinkled with gold in his hand, just to tease him. The woman snatched the fan away, hit the cat as hard as she could on the target, and flew out of the tent. He said to Simon King, What a weird enemy. What's wrong with this unsatisfactory thing, and tempting him to touch his head and face for a while. I won't do this business anymore. Okay, Simon King said. What a weird little whore. You're so good at it that you'll die. The woman said, Why don't you ask Li Pinger to smack it for you? I'll teach you how to do it in this room. I don't know what I ate. You swine. After sipping this day, I feel more and more tired. Simon King then put the sweat towel into a small silver box, picked out some pink ointment with his picked teeth, smeared it into the horse's mouth, and lay on his back. Teach the woman to ride on it. The woman said, Wait while I open the door, and you put it in. The glance was large, and after grinding it for a long time, there was only no ridge. The woman was on top, rubbing her body from side to side, as if she couldn't bear it, because he shouted, Dear Dada, it's so tight inside, it's not hard to touch. As he touched it with his hand, he saw that the female had swallowed half of the handle, and both sides of it were full. The woman smeared the 2 sides of her vagina with saliva, and then it became slightly whiter and slid down. She moved back and forth, sitting up and down, and gradually disappeared to the root. The woman said to Simon King, The trembling sounds you often make are just hot and itchy inside. How can it be like the monk's medicine? When it goes in, it goes from the womb to the heart, and this time it feels all over the body. My whole body is numb. I died in your hands today. It's so hard to bear. Simon King said with a smile, War, I have a joke for you. It was said by the second brother Ying. When a man died, the king of hell would put a donkey skin on his body and teach him to transform into a donkey. After checking the records, the judge found that he had been alive for 13 years, and he was released again. His wife saw that his whole body had changed, except for his penis. The donkey hasn't changed yet, so the man said, I'm going to the underworld to change. His wife panicked and said, My brother, if you go, I'm afraid I won't let you come back. Wait for me to take my time. Take it. After hearing this, the woman smiled and hit the fan handle, saying, No wonder Ying Huazi's wife is used to being a donkey. She said, You talkative thief. I don't see the world. I'll beat you this time. Both feet were tied for a second time, but Simon King Jing couldn't resist. He closed his eyes below, and the woman squatted on him and tried her best to pull out the glands, which made a strange scratching sound. After lifting the hook for a long time, he hung his body again and faced Simon King. Simon King raised his buttocks with both hands, lifting them without showing his head. He came and went in a hurry. Although Simon King was looking at him, it was as if there was nothing. For a long time, the woman became impatient, turned around, put her hands around Simon King's neck, and leaned on her body. She spread her tongue in his mouth, and the words went straight to her vagina. She just rubbed them, and she didn't say anything. Please kiss Dada, that's all. Rory is dead. For a moment, he fell into a coma, and the tip of his tongue was cold. After the erection was over, Simon King felt that a heat flowed directly into the pubic area of his body, and his heart felt so joyful that it was indescribably beautiful. Afterwards, the sexual fluid overflowed, and the woman wiped it with a handkerchief. The two hugged each other, clasped their heads and clucked their tongues, but the words could not come out. After sleeping for less than half an hour, the woman climbed on top of her, and the two started fucking again. The woman lost her body twice in a row and felt a little tired. Simon King just pretended not to take advantage of it, secretly thinking about Hu Monk's magical power. Looking at the cockroach outside the window, the east is getting wider. The woman said, "My darling, what are you doing? Come back in the evening and wait until I have finished sipping it for you." Simon King said, "I can't even smack it. Pass. It only takes care of one thing and it's over." The woman said, "Tell me which one it is." Simon King said, "The law is not spread to the 6 ears. I will tell you when I come in the evening. In the morning. Get up and wash up." Chun Mai puts on some clothes. Han Daguo and Chui Ben were waiting outside early. Simon King came out, burned the paper, and got up. 2 letters were delivered to the two of them. One letter goes to Yangzhou Matu and dropped off at Wang Boru's shop. The other letter goes to Yangzhou City to capture Mao King and ask about his whereabouts. "Come and repay me quickly. If the money is not hooked, I'll teach Lai Bao to take it with me later." Chui Ben said, "Do you have any more books from Father Kai?" Simon King said, "You haven't written any books from Father Kai yet, so I'll teach Lai Bao and leave later." The two of them said goodbye and said nothing more. Simon Xingguan took it with him and went to the Yamen to meet Jia Tixing and talk about the intention of the move yesterday. Jia Tixing said, "Today I have a brief talk with Commander Ku, and there are no other guests. The distribution has been completed, and everyone has dispersed to their homes. I saw a man in green clothes, riding a fast horse, holding a felt bag under his arm, walking with sweat on his face. When he arrived at the gate, he asked Ping En, 'Is this the home of Simon?' Ping En said, 'Where are you from?' The man dismounted and bowed, saying, 'I am sent by Father N, who supervises the Emperor's woodwork, giving gifts to Dad. My dad and Dad Huang, who is in charge of the brick factory, are now going to have a drink with Dad Hu in Dongping Mansion. By the way, I came to pay homage to Dad first and see if he is at home.' Ping En said, 'There is a message.' 'No.' The man took it out from the felt bag and handed the gift to Anping. Ping En took it in and showed it to Simon King. On the gift card, he saw 2 ends of Zhejiang silk, 4 pounds of Hu cotton, a bunch of incense, and a round ancient mirror. The instructions were, pack 5 coins, get a reply and send it to someone, saying that you will be waiting for Dad at home." The man left in a hurry. Simon King was preparing wine and food, and at noon, 2 officials arrived with a shout, riding in a sedan chair with the lid open to a great deal. First of all, people send greeting cards. One is watchman in Shen pays homage, and the other is waiter Huang Ba Guang pays homage. They are all dressed in blue clouds and white pheasants, wearing black gauze and soap shoes. They get off the sedan chair and bow to let them in. Simon King went out to greet them and went to the hall to recite the ceremony. They all expressed their feelings to each other and sat down separately. Mr. Huang was on the left, Mr. N was on the right, and Mr. Simon King was accompanying him. First, Chief Huang raised his hand and said, "I have admired the virtuous man for a long time, but I am too late to pay my respects to him." Simon King said, "I dare not. I humiliate Mr. Chang to give you a useless gift first, so I should kowtow to you. Dare you ask me your name?" Chief N said, "Brother Huang Nian's name is Tai Yu, which means when you walk in peace, you will shine in the sky." Huang said, "Dare you ask me your name?" Simon King said, "The student's nickname is Siquin, because the small village has farewells said." Chief N said, "I met Brother Kai Nian yesterday and said that he and Song Yuan were both at the mansion to cause trouble." Simon King said, "Because I have inherited Yunfeng's order and he is the ancestor of our city, I dare not to welcome you." Shaoqiao is in the capital. It is known that Feng Wang has been elected without any congratulations. He asked again, "When will you get up to come here?" Chief N said, "After I said goodbye to my father last year, I went home to renew my marriage. After the new year, I came to Beijing in the first month of the year. I was appointed to the Ministry of Industry. preparing personnel and taking charge. The imperial envoy supervised the transportation. Huang Mu, go to Jingzhou. The Taoist road passes here. Don't you dare not pay homage. Simon King said again, I can't thank you enough for the great ceremony. After saying that, he asked to take off his clothes and ordered tables and seats to be placed on the left and right. Chief Huang was about to get up, and Chiefin said, I'll tell you the truth, Brother Huang Nian and I are still going to Dongping Hutai's mansion to attend a banquet. Because we have been to Hutai's mansion, we dare not pay him an audience. Please come back and disturb us later. Simon King said, It's a long way to go to Mr. Hu's place. Even if we are not hungry, how can we be like servants? I dare you not to have a meal, but just prepare a meal here to reward the servants. So he sent the sedan to collect some food first. Plate, tables and seats are placed in the hall. Rare delicacies are served at their peak, including soups, rice, snacks, and delicious seafood. General Simon King only served 3 cups of small gold bells to each person, and carried them down to the table to take care of the ceremony for his family members and officials. After a while, the 2 officials paid their respects and stood up. Chiefin said to Simon, Tomorrow, I will have a little friend. I have asked Mr. Kuzian to come to the village of my brother Huang Nian and his colleague, the old eunuch Liu. Do you agree to ride before the trial? Simon King said, Now that you have been favored, how dare you not follow your fate? After saying this, he walked out of the gate, got on the sedan chair and laughed. I saw Jia Tixing sending someone to invite him. Simon King said, I'll go. He ordered the horses to be prepared, went to the back, changed his hat and clothes, and came out to mount the horse. Dan and Kintong followed, and the troops shouted, heading straight to Jia Tixing's house. He went to the hall to recite the ceremony and said, it was appropriate for the Ministry of Works supervisor to urge President Huang Muan and President Huang of the brick factory to come and pay their respects. They stayed and sat for half a day before leaving. Otherwise, they would have arrived early. After saying this, he made his way to the hall. There are 2 tables and seats on it, with Simon King on the left, followed by Nishu Kai, the Sibin. As the conversation was going on, he asked, Mr. What is your honorific name? Nishu Kai said, the student's nickname is Ni Peng. His courtesy name is Xuan and his nickname is Guiyan. I have seen him prepare for the number in the mansion, under the sect of my proprietor, Mr. Jia. I set up a Mr. Xian Langda, a teacher in the library, has made a career. It is really shameful for friends and Taoists. While talking, 2 young boys came up to kowtow, playing, singing and drinking. Let's say that Pan Jinlian didn't get up until noon after sending Simon King out. As soon as I could get up, I was too lazy to comb my hair. I'm afraid people behind him will say that Yunyang didn't even eat when she invited him to dinner, but just pushed him away. It was a long time before he left the room and came to the back. Since Simon King is away, Yunyang wants to listen to Ansu's lecture on Buddhism and perform the Vajra ritual, place his sutra table in the bright room and burn incense. Ansu and Aunt Wang sat opposite each other, while 2 disciples, Mao Ku and Mao Feng, stood on both sides, chanting the Buddha's name. Da Jinzi, Miss Yang, Wu Yunyang, Li Jiar, Meng Yulu, Pan Jinlian, Li Ping'er, Sun Zui and Li Guiji were all sitting round him, listening to his recitation. First, Ansu said, I heard that electric light is easy to extinguish, but stone fire is difficult to extinguish. Fallen flowers never return to the tree, and passing water never returns to its source. Painting halls and embroidering pavilions. Your destiny is as bright as the sky for the best high-ranking officials. Your salary is as bright as a dream. Gold and white jade are nothing but resources for disaster. Red, pink and light clothes are nothing but the expense of hard work. A wife and children cannot have 100 years of joy, and darkness has 1,000 layers of suffering. Once you sleep on the pillow, your life will be overturned. The history of history spreads a false name, and the lowest buries the bones that are not strong. Hundreds of hectares of farmland are fought over by children. Thousands of boxes of damask and brocade will not be separated even after death. Youth is not yet half over, but gray hair comes to invade. People who congratulate are only heard, and people who mourn are coming soon. Bitter, bitter, bitter. The gas turns into the wind and the dust returns to earth. A little bit of reincarnation cannot be recalled, and it has changed its appearance countless times. The endless void in the south pervades the Dharma realm, filled with the three treasures of Buddha, Dharma and Sangha in the past and future. The supreme and profound Dharma is encountered in millions of calamities. Now that I have accepted and upheld what I have seen and heard, I am willing to understand the true meaning of the Tathagata. Andy Wong said, at that time, Sakyamuni Buddha was the ancestor of all Buddhas and the master of Buddhism. How could he become a monk? I would like to listen to the speech. Antizu then sang 5 offerings. Sakyamuni Buddha, the Prince of Brahma, gave up the mountains and rivers. Go and cut the meat to feed the eagles and magpies on top of their nests. Only by cultivating the 9 dragons, spitting water and mixing it with gold can one become the great enlightenment Sakyamuni of Namo Mahayana. Ant Wang said again, now that Sakyamuni Buddha has listened to his speech, how did Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva practice that day so that he could have the majesty and hundreds of incarnations and the power of the Great Way? I would like to listen to what he said. Anzu was about to sing again when she saw Ping and her panicking. Zhang came up and said, President Song sent to quickly send a doorman to deliver gifts. Yunyang panicked and said, your father went to Xia's house to have a drink. Who sent him away? As he said, I saw Diana return to Malay's house, put it in the felt bag. Anne said, it doesn't matter. Wait until I get the post to tell my father, brother-in-law, please invite the doorman in, and let him have some food and wine. Diane handed over the felt bag, took the post, and rode on horseback to Jia Tik Singh's house like a flying cloud. In this way, he said that Mr. Song, the patrolman, was here to send gifts. Ximeng King read the post, which read one mouthful of fresh bic, to statues of Jin, for swords of official paper, and a small book, and the bottom line was better greetings to Song Kiao Nyan, waiter. He quickly told him, when you get home and hand over the book, boy, quickly take my double-folded notebook with my official title and go back. The disciple will reward him with 3 taels of silver and 2 square handkerchiefs. Each person who carries the box will give him 5 coins. Diane came home and looked for the book boy everywhere. Where can I get it? The anxious cow turned around. Chen Jingji was not here again, so he asked his friend Fu to accompany them to have a drink. Diane asked for a handkerchief and money from behind, but there was no one to seal it. Because he asked Ping En, you don't know where you are going, Ping En said, when my brother-in-law was at home. He was still at home. My brother-in-law, who was lagging behind, went outside to ask for money, and he disappeared too. Dan said, don't ask. The young boy must be wandering around outside, taking care of his wife. In the middle of the panic, I saw Chen Jingji and a book boy riding on mules. They were scolded by Diane several times. He taught him to write a handbook of official titles and sent the gift giver away. Diane said, you little boy, you opened your door and went away. My father is not here, and I don't care about him at home. I went to support my wife and son. My father didn't let you and your brother-in-law beg for money outside the house. Why are you following me for nothing? Let's see if I tell my father. The book boy said, you said no. I'm afraid of you. If you don't tell me, you're my son. Diane said, you little boy who is a thief and a thief. How many bets are you going to make? As he walked forward, one of them fell over, and the 2 fell into pieces. Dan succeeded and spat on him. He said, I'll pick up Dad and wait until I come home to settle accounts with the adulteress. He rode on horseback. Yunyang was behind, sending the 2 girls to have some tea and food, and then listen to him singing Buddhist songs and reciting verses. If Pan Jinlian doesn't live nearby, he first pulls the Yulu stationery, and then pulls Li Pinger, fearing what Yunyang will say. Yunyang then said, Sisterly, if he calls you, why don't you go with him? He's too anxious to be here and has no merit. Li Pinger had just come out with him. Yunyang glanced at her and said, pluck the reddish skin and leave it to him. It will save him from running around like a rabbit. He is not a person who listens to Buddhism. Pan Jinlian pulled Li Pinger out of the ceremony gate, because he said, my eldest sister is good at this business, and there are no dead people in your family. I turned it over to my sister-in-law's house and announced the case. Why are they all surrounding him? Let's go out for a walk and see what eldest sister is doing in the house. Come on. Then he walked out of the hall. I saw the lights in the wing, and the eldest sister and Jingji were chattering inside, saying that the money was missing. Jin Lian hit him on the window lattice and said, "If you don't listen to Buddhist music later, why are you and your wife arguing in the room?" Chen Jingji came out, saw the two of them, and said, "I didn't scold them earlier. It turns out that Wu Niang and Liu Niang are here. Please come in and sit down." Jin Lian said, "You are so brave, scold me." When he came in, he saw the eldest sister was putting away her shoes under the lamp, and said, "We are late at night, and it is very hot. Shoes." He asked, "What are you two yelling about?" Chen Jingji said, "Ask him. My father asked me to go outside to beg for money. He gave me 3 coins and taught me to sell gold for him. Here comes the sweat towel. I didn't want to go there. I had no money in my sleeves, and I couldn't bring it back. When I came home, he said that I was raising my wife there, and he yelled at me all day. I was so anxious that I cursed. I didn't want the girl to sweep the floor, picked it up on the ground. He took the money and refused to give it back, and even asked me to buy a sweat towel tomorrow." You two old people said, "Whose is it?" The eldest sister then scolded, "You thief, don't say anything. If you don't support your wife, what are you doing with the book boy? Why didn't you scold Diane just now? There must be 2 gangsters to support your wife. We came here late. Where is the money you begged for?" Jin Lian asked. "Have you ever got any money?" The eldest sister said, "Just now, the girl swept the floor and picked it up. I'll take it." Jin Lian said, "Don't worry about it. I will give you some money. And tomorrow you will also bring me 2 gold sweat scarves." Li Ping'er then asked, "Brother-in-law, there are some outside the door. Please bring me some money." Jingji said, "Then there is a famous Wang family in the outer handkerchief alley, which specializes in selling all kinds of handkerchiefs and sweat towels with gold and jade in them. You can have as many as you want. What color and pattern do you want? Tell me early and I will bring them for you tomorrow." "Here we come," Li Ping'er said. "I want an old yellow pin with gold dots and green emeralds through the flowers and phoenixes." Jingji said, "Liu Niang, the gold on the old golden pin will not show up." Li Ping'er said, "Don't take care of me. I also want a piece of silver red silk to be sold in the Zhangya sea water and embedded with 8 treasures, and a piece of glittering sesame seeds to be sold in gold." Jingji said, "Wen Yang, what kind of tricks do you want?" Jin Lian said, "I don't have any money. I just want a pieces of gold. I want 1 piece of jade-colored silk thread to sell gold." Jingji said, "You are not an old man. What do you want him to do?" Jin Lian said, "What do you care about him if you can't wear it? Wait until I have a filial piety to wear it in the future." Jingji said, "Then what color do you want for one side?" Jin Lian said, "For that side, I want a Sichuan silk sweat scarf in the color of purple grapes. On the top are pins of gold and jade, 10 kinds of brocade, knotted in the same center. Fang Shenger, a Fang Shenger inside the couple is happy to meet each other. On both sides of the fence, there are 8 treasures with tassels, pearls and broken pieces." Jingji heard this and said, "Yeah, Korean music. Yeah, Korean music. No more selling melon seeds and opening the box sneezing. A lot of trivial things." Jin Lian said, "It's because of the short life. If you have money, you can buy what you want, and you can do whatever you want, no matter what you do." Li Ping'er then took out a piece of silver from his purse, handed it to Jingji, and said, "Even your 5th wife is in it." Jin Lian shook her head and said, "Just wait for him and me." Li Ping'er said he said, "I asked my brother-in-law to bring it over, so let's set up a cellar again." Jingji said, "Even Lian Wen Yang says plenty of money." Li Ping'er said, "I'll bring the rest with the eldest sister." The eldest sister quickly said Wan Fu. Jin Lian said, "You Liu Niang bought a sweat towel for the eldest sister. Take out the 3 coins. You to fight with leaves, and bet on the host. Master, I will ask your Liu Niang to post some and wait for you tomorrow. Dad is not here. Buy roast duck and white wine for us to eat." Jingji said. Since Wu Niang said, "Take it out," the eldest sister handed the golden lotus to Li Ping'er and kept it. Taking out the cards, the eldest sister fights with Jingji under the lamp. Jin Lian was there to give pointers to her eldest sister again, and she immediately beat Jingji 3 times. Suddenly there was a knock on the door and Simon King came home. Jin Lian and Li Pinger went back to their room. Jingji came out to greet Simon King and replied, saying that he would send 250 taels of silver from the Zhu family the day after tomorrow, and the rest would be returned at the end of the month. Simon King cursed a few times and, half drunk with wine, didn't even come back and went straight to the Golden Lotus room. It's just that I have my own internal affairs to welcome my husband, so why worry about the flowers not blooming tomorrow?
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.